It looks like a concept, doesn't it? Well, about a year or so ago, Hyundai unveiled the Concept 45, and that was to celebrate 45 years since it had unveiled its first model, the Pony. I actually remember the Pony. But this is the Ioniq 5. This isn't a concept car. This is a very real, very finished car. And actually, since this was unveiled at the beginning of February this year, it's had more interest than possibly any other Hyundai model to date. And today, we're going to drive it, mostly outside. I'm Jonny Smith, welcome to the Late Break Show. So seeing as this isn't a concept car, and seeing as this is the only one that anyone has ever seen yet, and it's the only one in the country, and I've got 2 hours to drive it, I think we should probably take this 800 volt, 300 mile range, beautiful box out of the farmhouse and onto the road. And while I take it for a brief test drive, I'm going to give you 5 important things to know all about the Ioniq 5. 5 and 5. Number 1, E-GMP. Well, or E-GMP. That is the name for the dedicated EV platform that the Ioniq 5 is on, which is the first of Hyundai's dedicated platforms. You see, their previous models have been based upon piston cars, so that isn't a dedicated platform. So what does it stand for? Electric Global Modular Platform. Yeah, okay. But you know what? The other thing that allows you to do, the E-GMP, look at the wheelbase. 3 meter wheelbase on this car. That is longer by about 70, I worked it out, 78 millimeters longer in wheelbase than the full-size Range Rover. Amazing. But what that means is there's tons of space inside the car. Don't get this car confused with the Hyundai Ioniq that's in existence right now, because that car is a car that's available as a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid and a full EV, but it's a smaller, narrower car. It's a different segment car. This is the Ioniq 5, not the Ioniq, okay? And every time I say Ioniq, I want to say erotic, like that song off of Madonna. The biggest advantage of E-GMP is that it gives you a true flat floor car. And because you've got this 3 meter wheelbase, the car has so much more space inside than you expect for something of this overall length. I'll put the dimensions of the Ioniq 5 above here. So, flat floor car, seats that are 30% thinner on the back, so that the people in the back here have more space. The people at the back here have got electric reclining options on their seat, so they can recline and move their seats further forwards and backwards. Again, flat floor in the back. But what it means here is you can also, I believe, because I've seen it, you can put your little ottoman out. Look, 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 look. You can properly relax in this sort of lounge environment. The theory being from Hyundai is that I guess you can use it as a chill out lounge while you're charging, maximising this space. And what amazing space it is. Look at this, 2 12-inch landscape screens all the way across. A bit like a Mercedes S-Class, I thought. Yeah, and a really nice 2-spoke steering wheel. Universal console. This universal console here can electrically move to and fro by up to 140 millimeters. In other words, you can sort of semi-share it with the people in the back. Oh, instead of a glove box, you've got a dash drawer or a glove drawer. You pull it out, look, and it actually comes out like a sort of filing cabinet. Even more packaging there. Very deep, long door bins. Because this is the launch model, of which 3,000 have already been pre-sold, as I said, they're the only ones that have got the full solar roof. You can't buy an Ioniq 5 with a solar roof thereafter. So that's a genuinely special launch piece of spec, not just a crappy badge and a decal. And that will especially help things like the air conditioning. It will help to power the car more efficiently. So that's your front, that's your cabin area. You've got your universal console that can move. You've got your reclining seat with your sort of ottoman thingy. You've got your genuine flat floor with a couple of USBs and cubbies. Very nice. And if I get in the back, you sit higher than you do in the front. But I think you get, oh, you've got blinds and everything. It just feels so open. I love it. Oh yeah, look, there we go. So this is a much thinner seat, 30% thinner than normal to give the people in the back, me now, more knee room. Pair of USBs, and like I say, this can come to and fro. But if you're in the middle, completely flat floor. Oh, there's another thing that's inside. My videographer, he's called Matty, and he's from Newcastle. Hi, Matty.
Hey, how's it going?
That doesn't sound very Newcastle.
How's it going, man?
Matty, repeat after me. Recycle bottles pet.
Recycle bottles pet.
Good. It's actually recycled PET bottles. So some of those make up the interior. Can you repeat after me, Matty? Plant-based bio-pet.
Plant-based bio-pet.
Yes, plant-based bio-pet yarns and natural wool yarns used inside the Ioniq 5. There's a lot of pet in here, so if you're from the northeast, it's just going to feel so natural. 3 different interior options, and I think 5 different paint colours. And the paint is plant-based, not just a lot of the interior. There's a lot of pet going on here. This isn't the first time we've seen this sort of recycled, interesting materials from the Koreans. In fact, the first generation Kia Soul Electric had some fantastic recycled stuff, and I did a buyer's guide on one of those. Have a look at it above. I forgot to mention, probably the main rivals of this car are the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Nissan Ariya that's forthcoming, and also the VW ID.4, all of which I have done videos on in the past, and I will put them somewhere on screen. Boot, hatchback. Now this is a pre-production car, so it's not entirely as the finished car will be, but to you, to the camera, it'll probably look exactly the same. So here is the boot of the Ioniq 5. This is, now having a quick look at this actually, this is interesting. 531 litres of space. I mean, it's a wide car, quite thin kind of pillars here. But you have got a front boot as well in the Ioniq 5, and that is 57 litres if you bought the rear wheel drive car. This one's the 4-wheel drive, which means it's a 24 litre boot. But whichever way you look at it, it's got a bigger boot than a VW ID.4. It's got a bigger boot than a Ford Mach-E, I think, and it's got a bigger boot than the Nissan Ariya. So it's actually a really good sized boot, and there's an area under here, I believe. Oh, that's got your, I'll show you what that one is in a bit. This is a very important thing. And there, Hyundai are telling you to put your cables in the front. I like this boot. Do you know the best bit about this car is? When you shut it, and you get to stare at that rear spoiler. Look at it. It doesn't have a rear wiper, because Hyundai is saying that the shape, the aerodynamics of this car will keep the back window nice and clean. Look at this. Number 2, 400 or 800 volt charging capability. The Hyundai E-GMP GIMP platform can support both 400 volts, which most EVs are, and 800 volts, like the Porsche Taycan and the Audi e-tron GT, charging infrastructures as standard. This is a world first, with patented clever technology that operates the motor and inverter to boost 400 to 800 volts for stable charging where available. The Ioniq 5 also can rapid charge up to 380 kilowatts, so although much of the UK isn't there yet, it's already ready. Theoretically, it can charge 10 to 80% in 18 minutes at this level, or get 100 kilometers of range from 5 minutes of charge. Insane. Now, this isn't a finished car, this is still a pre-production car, but to all intents and purposes, you wouldn't really know. It's very quiet in here. The dash is very simple. You've got all your climate, your HVAC stuff down here on touch controls. Yep. Then you've got a second layer of physical buttons, the silver brush kind of finish, physical volume knob, and then nav, map, media, that kind of thing there. your two 12-inch screens like I've said, and I've actually got augmented head-up display, so I've got my sat-nav and my speed projected onto there, but also arrows physically pointing down the roads that I need to go on, which is handy. I like a head-up display. It's not that intrusive either. You sit quite high. Now remember, this is classed as a CUV, crossover utility vehicle. It's not an SUV, and really I think it just looks like a scaled up normal hatchback, you know, like a Golf or a Ford Focus or something like that, but better. If you want a normal shaped car but with a higher driving position, this could be it. Point number 3, 8-bit Integrale. I am not the only person who thinks that this car bears more than a resemblance to the boxy 80s WRC favourite, the Lancia Delta Integrale. I used to love that car. I grew up watching it on rally stages with people like Juha Kankkunen driving it, and I think it looks really stocky and strong and striking, which is cool. And I love the 8-bit pixelated front and rear light clusters with those sort of squared off headlights. And there's some other pixelated kind of features that have come inside here. So that is great. You've got the WRC style rear spoiler, you've got the recessed door handles, you've got the active vents on the front, you've got these sort of 80s slashed sill covers. It's that strange but appealing, to me anyway, blend of retro with future facing. It's great to have a car this stylish but also this practical, and a hark back to the 80s video game era of the 8-bit and the Lancia Delta Integrale. I'm not sure if the Koreans use the Integrale as their inspiration, but it's no bad thing. I now need to find somewhere to turn this car around, but because it's so wide, I don't know where I'm going to do that. It's very quiet. It isn't stiffly sprung, but I'm not, because it's such a wide track car, I'm not getting a great deal of body roll. And those wheels, those 20-inch wheels, are in each corner, right in each corner. What a thing. I'd like to see some of the other interiors, because this is sort of your perforated leather, which is actually more trad than all the other ones. Number 4, 2 batteries, 2 or 4-wheel drive. So like its competitors, the Ioniq 5 can be bought with 2 sizes of battery and single motor rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive front and rear motor. Entry-level battery, 58 kilowatt hours, and the bigger battery, which is on the launch model like this, is 72.6 kilowatt hours. The longest range car does 480 kilometers, and that is the rear-wheel drive only big battery pack. This is the fastest one. This does 0 to 62 in 5.2 seconds, and that's all-wheel drive with the big performance battery pack. But you know what? Judging by the efficiency of Hyundai and Kia cars, and I've driven a Kia Soul Electric for 6 months, the efficiency of EV drivetrains, the Koreans have really got it down to a T. And I think if you're judging a car by build quality as well as EV efficiency, and not to mention decent warranty, I think the Koreans cannot be beaten. The only thing which Tesla outdoes them at is charging infrastructure, because Tesla has its own superchargers. Apart from that, I do think the Koreans are at the front at the moment. They're at the forefront of it. Look, it's an Evoque convertible. You never see them. There is nothing like the Ioniq 5 on the road. There really isn't. What I love about it is that it bucks the trend, really, for what's out there. It doesn't look bulbous. It doesn't look bloated. It actually looks quite taut. Yeah, I think it's a great looking car. In fact, just a couple of days after I filmed this feature, Hyundai Motors casually released pictures of this, the Heritage Series pony concept, where they've taken an original Giugiaro-styled 70s pony and then kind of resto-modded it with EV underpinnings and this pixelated styling of the Ioniq 5 incorporated into the original. It is fantastic. 0 to 62, 3, 2, 1. Oh! Yeah. All right, that's more rapid than I was expecting. That's really nice. See, I know that the Kia Soul and the E-Niro, they're all a bit more nippy than you're expecting. They're all 7 second to 62 cars. This is 5.1 seconds to 62, and this is the top spec performance model. And there are about 3 others, which I'll put the tech specs of on screen. They're all regulated to 115 miles an hour top speed, which is fine. Top speed means not a great deal to me these days, especially in a car with kind of practical credentials. But really what it's about is that battery pack, which gives you almost 300 miles of range. The efficiency, but also it's not just that. It's the fact that this car is practical and stylish. I think we are at the point now where some of the most exciting looking cars on the road happen to be EV. And what I love about this is that people love this design, the same as the Honda E. They think it's a wonderful piece of design, and it isn't just a Me Too kind of Russian doll bloated SUV. But what this has over the Honda E is that this has a very long range, and anything over 250 real world miles, I think you've really cracked it in the electric car world. And I've lived with a Kia Soul electric for 6 months, and that regularly did 250, 260 miles on one charge, and it was brilliant. It was effortless, there was no range anxiety. There's no fancy augmented noises really. You get a bit of a whistle from the electric motor and you're off. You got your state of charge here, you got your top speed here, got my head-up display with augmented sat-nav and stuff laid out on the road, which is handy. It's telling me my efficiency, 4.4. When I started off, 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really good. I don't know how heavy this car is, and I also don't know what the entry-level prices will be, but it will be a little bit more than things like the Hyundai Kona, which is its smaller brother. So expect this to start at about 35, 36 and top out at about £45,000. It's funny, you look at that like a diesel pickup truck and it just looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex compared to this. This is one disadvantage I can possibly think about the Ioniq 5, and it's similar to the Jag I-Pace. It's wide, it's deceivingly wide, which down British back lanes can be an issue. As I drive that back, the indicator stalk is very chunky, possibly a bit too chunky, and the drive function stalk down here is lovely, but again it's sort of so big I don't know, feels just a little bit cheap. But I'm struggling to pick fault with the Ioniq 5. The Ioniq 5 is alive, much like Jonny 5 was in the 80s film. Number 5, it's basically a big charger on wheels. Now, being able to charge stuff in electric cars isn't exactly news. I mean, the Honda E had an internal plug that you could run stuff off, and this, actually, the finished version of the Ioniq 5 has an internal plug at the back between the seats. But the other thing this has is something called V2L, vehicle to load, and that means you can power stuff externally as well. This has an adapter, the thing that I showed you earlier, and that goes into there, and then down here you can power stuff. You know, like, we live in a world of social distancing. We're in the middle of nowhere. What could we possibly power? Well, Hyundai suggested that you could charge your e-bike. So I've got an electric motorbike. So imagine I'm in a field on my own, or I drive this to just outside of town, and then I got one of these to go into the city with. Oh, and by the way, you have got a rapid charger for wireless phones in there, up to 15 watts. My Moto Chimp can be charged, look. I'm going to plug this in first. It's working. So there we go. You can do V to L, which has been done to a point by Nissan. You can power this, you can use this as a portable huge battery pack. I'm charging my electric motorbike right now. What else could I possibly charge? Air dancer. Bouncy castle. So, you know, having a mobile power source can have its uses. You can be in the middle of nowhere, you can power a multitude of things. Like a fun bouncy castle, or a fun air dancer, or a bicycle, an e-motorbike. All I need now is some friends. Oh look, here's some children. There you go, thank you very much for watching my Hyundai Ioniq 5 review. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to the Late Break Show already, why not hit subscribe? If you like this video, like it, because the algorithm tells me to say that. Anyway, thank you. I don't know whose children they are, they're not mine.